In my lifetime, I have built exactly one e-bike. In this journey of building my first e-bike, which is the Enduro e-bike you guys know and love, I have made probably about 50 different mistakes. I'm going to be sharing 5 of the biggest mistakes that I've grown to regret that I want to make sure that you guys don't have. Hey, what is up guys? Tommy here, back again with another video, and you heard me right. I'm going to be sharing more precious knowledge out of my noggin just for you guys to sit here and listen to and enjoy and maybe learn a thing or two from. If you haven't already, make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm posting 3 videos a week from now on. Hopefully you're going to try to do that until March 30th and we'll see where that gets us. So if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and leave a nice comment down below for the YouTube algorithm. That will make sure that this video gets out to more people so that they can also enjoy this type of content. Without further ado, here are 5 mistakes that you can make when building your first e-bike. Now, starting off with mistake number 1, getting the wrong motor size. Now, I'm not saying I got the wrong motor for my bike. It's a QS273 motor and it works perfectly fine with my bike. As you can see in this ride footage, it's very smooth and I have no problems with it. Although, if I was to go back with the knowledge I know now and order my parts again, I would have got the step down from the QS273 motor, the QS205 motor, which is the 5,000 watt motor. Now, why would I do this? The reason for this is because my bike only puts out about 11 kilowatts of power, whereas the motor I'm using on it can handle an excess of 20 kilowatts of power. Now, the QS205 motor, the 5,000 watt motor I just told you guys about, can handle about 15 kilowatts of power, which is much more than the power that I'm using out of my bike. Now, why is this significant? The QS205 motor weighs 15 pounds less than the QS273 motor. This means that you have less weight on your bike, which is always a good thing. It also means that shipping cost is less, there's less material, so it's a cheaper motor, and overall it's just much better to have a lighter, smaller motor than something that's big and clunky, especially when your bike does not require it. So make sure to go ahead and do some research before you order your motor and get something that's going to fit your power level. Now, number 2 is not a mistake that I have personally made, but it's one that I almost made and that I see a lot of other people make. And this is getting an insufficient battery management system, or BMS for short. A battery management system is any electronic system that manages a rechargeable battery, such as by protecting the battery from operating outside of its safe operating area. Now, oftentimes you will see on batteries, especially the cheaper ones from China, they will say that they have a 50 to 60 amp BMS. Now, to a beginner builder who is just looking for a battery for their bike, this probably wouldn't mean much to them, but I'm going to tell you why it's definitely a big deal to get the right BMS for your bike. Now, let's just assume you have the same controller as me, a Sabaton 72 150 amp controller, and you got a battery that only has a 50 amp BMS, and you paired them together and tried to run your bike. Guess what would happen? The bike would run perfectly fine, but because your BMS is only 50 amps and your controller is 150 amps, you'd only be able to use a third of the power, with your controller. So your bike would not be very fast. You'd maybe be able to get up to about 40 miles per hour, and overall it would just be pretty disappointing. So that's why you should get a BMS that is at least the same amperage that your controller is or higher. Now, I am definitely guilty of this mistake. On to mistake number 3, overpaying, and I am so guilty of this one and I regret it so bad. So I saw this video where this guy was listing off all of the parts he had on his bike, and he left links down in the description below for all of the parts, and he left a link down below for his motor kit. So the motor kit you got was on Alibaba, and it had a QS205 motor, a Sabaton 72 150 amp controller, and all of the components and everything that came with it, plus a front tire, all for just $1,100, and that was including shipping and taxes. And at this point, I had already bought my motor kit, which I had paid $1,400 for. And this motor kit that I had bought did not even come with a front wheel. And I just felt so ripped off at that point. I could have gotten this very nice motor kit that was pretty much the same thing as the one that I had previously bought for a much cheaper price. So what you want to do is make sure when you're looking for parts to look around and make sure that you're getting the best deal possible. Now, on to mistake number 4 when building your own e-bike is using the wrong tools for the job. Now, there are plenty of tools that go into building an e-bike. Some of the more common tools are things like Allen keys, wrenches, screwdrivers, and all of that sort of stuff. And then you have more uncommon tools that most people don't have sitting around in their houses, like headset cup removers, headset cup installers, sprocket removers, and there's just a whole plethora of tools, that a trained mechanic might have that the average person who wants to build their own e-bike doesn't have. And if you try to, get around not using these tools, you might succeed sometimes, but you're probably going to end up doing some damage to your frame. Like especially around the headset where there's a lot of specialized tools to install stuff. I ended up using a hammer for certain things and cutting certain things, cutting corners just not to use those tools. And it definitely shows as there's some scratches around there and there's some parts where the paint is removed. Also, there's a few strip bolts around my bike, mainly just because I was too lazy to go and look an extra 2 minutes to find the right size Allen keys for certain parts. So just don't cut corners and get the right tools for the job, and your bike will look much better in the end if you do that. Now the fifth and final mistake I made when building my first e-bike, and you can make the same mistake as well, is not asking for help. Now this is important for many different reasons. If you're stuck on something, there's a whole internet out there with people like me and a bunch of other people who have done these projects before, and most people are happy to give you information that's going to help you move forward with your project. There's a lot of times where I was stuck scratching my head on certain things, but I was just too scared to ask somebody like, hey, how do you do this? Because I'd think, oh, maybe they're going to think this kid's a dimwit because he doesn't know how to do this certain thing that's really easy. But I could have saved a lot of time just asking people, how do you do this? How do you do that? But I didn't, and I chose to be ignorant and try to do things on my own. But yeah, that's the fifth big mistake I made when building this Enduro e-bike that you guys will hopefully not make if you are planning to build one of these. Anyways, if you enjoyed this list, hit that subscribe button, leave a nice comment down below, like this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.